Tailed Feature is a Scottish YouTuber most known for making the intro music for the Count Dankula videos, like Absolute Mad Lads. He's mostly been an anti-SJW. He leans conservative, I think. But on his stream the other day, I think actually it was 2 streams back, he does a stream called Regional Variations, which was quite nice to listen to when there was a guy on there called Shinobi Aka, who was like an old friendly voiced geezer like you'd hear telling war stories down the pub or something. Anyway, Tailed Feature himself, 2 streams back, somewhere at the start of his stream, because he mocks like leftists and woke content by posting MSN news articles and talking about them, and he just like seemingly became a leftist and hoped nobody would notice. In that stream he was talking about how if he saw potatoes in his local farmer's field, he would just take them. He just said this out loud, like very mask off. I guess he's wearing a mask of conservatism, but if he's like, how can he critique leftism if he doesn't even know what it is? Like, the primary point of the far left and socialism is that they believe they're entitled to other people's property, you know, redistribution of wealth and so on. So, like, he was just saying, oh, if there are some potatoes in a farmer's field, I just take those and I get free potatoes. They didn't somehow understand that you can't get free food, else that's socialism. You have to work for it, or you have to trade for it. You don't just get free food off the labour of other people's backs. Like, the farmer, you know, figured out how to grow those potatoes, worked his field, tilled his field, ploughed it, planted those potatoes from seeds, watched them grow. When they came up, it was harvest time. You harvest the potatoes, that's effort as well, and got all the potatoes in. If there were any potatoes left over on the field, it might have just been after an initial harvest and he would have gone back to get the rest later. Or it might be some other reason, like the farmer might have some reason I don't know about, agricultural reason, where you leave potatoes in the field and it makes the soil better or something if you leave some. I don't know. There could be any number of reasons why he'd leave the potatoes in the field, but it doesn't matter because he worked for the potatoes. Potatoes are his property, fruits of his labour, quite literally, and that it's up to the farmer what he does or doesn't do with the potatoes, whether he leaves them. It's not free for other people to take. It's not like waste. It's not like leaving your bins out to be taken by the council. It's his property on his field, and he may come back for them. And Tailed has it into his head that oh, free potatoes, I put no effort in, I trade nothing, these are for me. Is this mine? It's like the meme, leftist meme, like someone makes something through effort or trade and a leftist comes along, is this mine? Is this free? Is this welfare? Is this a handout? That's the whole thing about like welfare and handouts. That's the whole thing that makes socialism run. That's the whole thing that massacres and famines, dekulakization in the Soviet Union were all about, is trying to equally redistribute wealth between people, whether they've earned it or not. And Tailed has not earned those potatoes. Now, if you went up to the farmer and said, could I have some of your potatoes for free? And the farmer, for some reason, maybe they're feeling ultra generous, said like, yeah, you can have 4 potatoes for free or whatever, then that's a voluntary transaction. That's up to the farmer's discretion whether they let someone have the potatoes as a free gift for some reason unknown, like they like you and you're their neighbour, but you shouldn't sell yourself short, to be honest. I think what is more likely is that the farmer would ask that you pay for those potatoes. If you want those potatoes, you can trade something for it. You can work to fix my fence. We're talking proper capitalism here. This is a transaction the government knows nothing about, so that's capitalism. You could say, you could work and fix my broken fence and I'll give you the 4 potatoes, or you can pay with money for the 4 potatoes, but I'm not letting you have them for free, because that's theft, that's stealing, that's socialism, that's thinking you have a right to what other people have grown or put the effort into making or traded for, put their money into, put their labour or work into, to produce or attain or obtain. I won't say obtain because that's a little bit like, that kind of alludes to stealing slightly as well, so attain I think is probably the right word. Anyway, I just no one seems to be pointing this out, and they're just I think Harrion, who I have my own issues with, he was pushing back on Tailed a little bit, and rightly so. I'm sorry, what? You take potatoes from the farmer's field? But this is quite a big thing for him, because he's admitting to the behaviour of a socialist in himself, in front of people on his live show, and not enough people are calling that out for someone who's supposedly criticising socialism. So, Tailed, what constructive feedback can I give to Tailed to get him out of this mess? Tell everyone that was a huge mistake when you stole potatoes from a farmer's field. Acknowledge that is socialism, and you know what socialism actually is when you're criticising it on your podcast. It's that, by the way, it's what you did there. And you could either go the way of, I'm going to do it again and make up your excuses, which is socialism, or you weasel word it into some right-wing view, which, the right and left are about the same now, I've discovered. On the horseshoe, they act very much the same. Libertarianism and AnCap and all that is a centrist position. It's actually advocating for capitalism. That's the main point of it, and freedom. That's the anarchist point of it. Anarchist not meaning chaos. Ignore those pretenders called AnComs. AnCom can't exist because that's just a socialist. When you see someone saying they're an anarchist but they're actually doing socialist things, because you know how to identify socialist ideology when you see it, which takes a bit of learning, but it's not hard to get into the frame where you can identify what socialism is. You'll know that someone saying they're an anarchist or an AnCom, waving red flags, red A symbol for instance, or the red and black diagonal stripe. They're just saying they're a socialist. They're not an anarchist. Anarchy is absence of a state, and the cap is capitalism. Com would be communism, which is slang for socialism. Communism's actually the utopia that socialism tries to obtain but always fails doing without mass death. So AnCom is just a socialist, because you can't have an anarchist socialist. It doesn't make any sense. It's a language hijack sort of thing. Socialism requires a state in order to function. Anarchism is the absence of a state. So you can't hyphenate opposites like that and expect it to make logical sense. But real anarchy is not chaos, it's absence of a state. And real capitalism cannot function while a state exists, because the state will regulate all transactions and trade between people. So it's not 100% true, because capitalism can exist in tiny pockets, which obviously are black markets, which are free markets, and trade like I've described, which is what Tailed should have done, between individuals, unseen, undocumented by government, because a government can't regulate what they don't see or can't see happening. So if you made a transaction with your neighbour for goods and services, I give you 3 apples, you give me a turnip, or I give you 3 apples, you put work in to fix my bathroom. Probably be more than 3 apples at that stage, but I get onto a whole sack full of apples or 2. Then that is a voluntary trade, consensual between 2 people, unseen by government. The government cannot regulate it. They can't say, oh, you can't have this size of sack of apples, or you can't put in the labour to work in the bathroom for this amount of hours, and you can't do it after 6 p.m. And the government cannot regulate your transactions. That's capitalism, and that's what AnCaps and Libertarians are after, basically. Which is the opposite of what Tailed Feature said he was doing. So you've got to either acknowledge that you've done something socialist, and that I don't want to say don't do that again, but if you do it again, you're a socialist. And so just be honest about yourself, about what you are. And if you don't do it again, you've admitted that you've done socialist behaviours in the past, but you're a capitalist now. And by capitalist, I don't mean capitalism exists in the present because we have a state, but a capitalist is someone geared toward trying to get capitalism in the future, which means being anti-state, being anti-government. Anyway, also Tailed rags on AnCaps and Libertarians all the time, but he thieves people's property, so I don't care if a socialist is ragging on an AnCap, to be honest. You're a commie. Anyway, just thought I'd fucking point that out, that hypocrisy. Catch you later.
Well, I've leave been, without food, you're even mad.
Well, I've been doing kitchenly things tonight. I've been cooking a whole load of potatoes and cauliflower that I, shall we say, pilfered. Yeah, that's the good thing about living near lots of farmland is that when you go out for a walk and they've just ploughed a field, you can just walk behind the machinery and go, oh, they missed this potato, oh, they missed this one, and then you come away with 2 massive bags full and give one to your parents and keep one for yourself. And also,
so you literally just stole from a farmer?
What?
So you literally just stole from a farmer?
Well, yeah, I suppose. I was going to try and justify it by saying that, it's the ones that they missed. They left them behind. The fucking foreigners that are doing.
Go back, yeah.
No, it was. I mean, they were ploughed. When were they ploughed? Last Friday, and I got them yesterday. So they've obviously no intention of going back for them.
You don't know that. You stole from them. You're a bad person. Fuck you.
Yeah, finders keepers. Basically what you're saying is that we stole the Elgin marbles because we found them.
No, that's what you're saying.
No,
I think it's a little bit different.
No, I'm saying that I didn't steal them. I just went along and picked up what was left behind.
I suppose we're missing the main thing here, which is that this just proves that Tail's a cheap bastard.
Oh yeah, definitely. I haven't bought potatoes for fucking years. I only have potatoes either when someone is feeding me potatoes, or if someone, like someone's making me a meal or something like that, and potatoes are involved, or at this time of year when I, go around picking up the ones that they didn't pick up with the plough.
How do you know they didn't leave them there on purpose?
Because the most of them ones that I picked up, I then threw back down because they were like split, or they were green, or they were mangled. So I don't think they're going to bother going back for them.